In 1962, 3 inmates escaped from a maximum security prison on an island. They tucked papier-mâché heads resembling their appearances into their beds, broke out of the prison through ventilation ducts and through an unguarded utility corridor, and left the island via an improvised inflatable raft to an unknown destination and fate. Alcatraz, the infamous island prison located in San Francisco Bay, was known for being inescapable. But on the night of 11th June 1962, 3 inmates, Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin, managed to do the impossible. Let's unravel their incredible story. Frank Morris was born in 1926, orphaned at 11, and spent the rest of his childhood in foster homes. He was first convicted at the age of 13 and also in his late teens, crimes involving armed robbery and possession of narcotics. He was reportedly one of the 2% of the general public with high IQ of 133. He was arrested for car theft, armed robbery, and larceny in Miami Beach. He served time in Florida and Georgia, escaped from the Louisiana State Penitentiary while serving 10 years for bank robbery, was then recaptured a year later while committing burglary, then was sent to Alcatraz on 20th January 1960. John and Clarence are known to be the Anglin brothers. John was born May 2, 1930, and Clarence was born 11th May 1931 in a family of 14 children in Donaldsonville, Georgia. The two were reportedly inseparable and together became skilled swimmers and swam in the freezing waters of Lake Michigan as ice still floated on its surface. Clarence was the first to get caught breaking into a service station when he was 14. In early 1950s, the two then began robbing banks and other establishments together, mainly aiming at businesses that were closed so that no one could get hurt. They claimed that the only weapon they have ever used was a toy gun in a bank heist. On January 17, 1958, John Anglin, Alfred Anglin, and Clarence Anglin robbed the Bank of Columbia in Alabama. All of them received a 35-year sentence and served their sentences in Atlanta Penitentiary. They tried to escape the facility multiple times, and John and Clarence were transferred to Alcatraz. There is also Allen West. He was an inmate to the 3 escapees and tried to escape with them but was not able to. He was born in March 1929 in New York City. He was imprisoned for car theft in 1955, served his time at Atlanta Penitentiary, then at Florida State Prison. After an escape attempt from the Florida facility, he was transferred to Alcatraz in 1957. The 4 prisoners were assigned adjacent cells and started to formulate an escape plan, with Morris being the mastermind behind the plan. They widened the ventilation ducts beneath their sinks in around 6 months, using discarded saw blades found on prison grounds, metal spoons from the dining hall, and an electric drill they improvised from the motor of a vacuum cleaner. They covered their work with a painted cardboard and masked the noise with an accordion that belonged to Morris. As soon as the halls were wide enough, they went through it and accessed the unguarded utility corridor directly behind their cells and climbed to the vacant top level of the cell block, where they set up a secret workshop. They then used over 50 assembled raincoats and other stolen material to make life preservers based, which Morris had learned from an issue of a popular magazine known as Popular Mechanics. Also assembled a 6x14 raft with its seams well stitched by hand and sealed with liquid plastic and heat from nearby steam pipes. They also improvised paddles from plywood and at last climbed a ventilation shaft and removed rivets holding a large fireplace. They concealed their absence while working outside their cells during their escape using a dummy they sculpted from a handmade papier-mâché like mixture of soap, concrete dust, toilet paper, and toothpaste, molded them into a realistic form, and used paint they got from the maintenance shop and hair from the barber shop floor. They piled clothes under the blankets and placed the dummy heads on the pillows. On June 11, 1962, they initiated their plan, but one of them was not so lucky. West discovered that the concrete he had placed for reinforcement in his vent had hardened and made the hole narrow. He tried to rewiden the vent, but by the time he was done, the others had already left without him. He then went back to his cell to sleep. As the other three were escaping, they climbed into the ventilation shaft and the guards heard a loud crash. Nothing further was heard, and nobody investigated the source of the noise. They then descended 50 feet to the ground by sliding down a kitchen vent, then climbed 12-foot barbed wire perimeter fences. They then inflated their raft using a stolen concertina, which is a musical instrument, from another inmate and modified to serve as a bellow. They did this at the northeast shoreline, which is a blind spot for the prison's searchlights and gun towers. Investigators estimated that they boarded the raft around 10 p.m. and departed toward their objective, Angel Island. The escape was not discovered till the following day, thanks to the dummy heads. West was the only conspirator not to participate in the actual escape. He fully cooperated with the investigation and was therefore not charged for his role. Despite an extensive manhunt, the three men were never found. The FBI officially closed the case in 1979, concluding that the escapees likely drowned. However, over the years, there have been numerous sightings and pieces of evidence suggesting that they might have survived. The escape from Alcatraz remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. Did Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers survive the perilous waters and find freedom? Or did they meet a watery grave? The truth may never be known, but their story continues to captivate. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow, rate, and leave a comment. And don't forget to tune in next time for another fascinating tale. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring.